Forgotten gold. So welcome to this interview. What makes you fit for this job? Today's weather forecast consists of rain, which it does. It might rain today.
Go rain!
Have you ever shipped Legolas and Gimli together?
Well, we haven't, but...
Yeah, I was like, no. Maybe as friends, but nothing more. Well, if you have,
this video's for you.
We found a potential fanfic. This is one of our fanfic episodes. By the way, we have a whole playlist if you enjoy. Today we're doing Gimli and Legolas from Lord of the Rings, and if you don't know who they are, you must first go spend 3 days of your life catching up on the movies. A road, bright and swift.
Get off the road.
This is a really long story, so we're only gonna read what would be maybe like a chapter. His time with Gimli in the deeps of the Entwood was indeed making Legolas feel young again. Fangorn's trees, huge and gnarled and webbed with lichen, spent their lives in such a slow silence that they calmed his heart and opened his eyes. He was beginning to remember how it had felt back in his youth, and as happened for elves, to remember it was able to relive it. That's so cool. I'm reading my memories. The newness to each moment, the way that he gazed about him in a hungry wonder, the eager waiting quiet in his mind. But there was another part of his dim past also stirring now, a part he had forgotten, and gladly so. Young and sheltered among his eternal folk, all he had first known of men and dwarves was that they faded as quickly as birds or beasts, graying and stooping and falling before you could notice one more than another. Travelers, traders, miners, rangers, all who passed through his father's realm blurred into each other and were forgotten. They swarmed by and brought terrible thoughts of how it might feel. Well. Well, He had grown since then, but now any wisdom he might have gained seemed suddenly to evade him, and along with the wonder of his youth returned this strange dread. He had no reason for it, or none that he cared to put into words, but he felt it all at moments, and this was one of them. I mean, emotional distress. Emotional distress is one of the key terms of this story. Gimli, freshly wakened, was lying with his head popped on one hand, his blanket at his waist, and he said his voice mourning hoarse. What? If my memory doesn't fail me, we'll be reaching the river Limelight soon. I dearly love a wash. Imagine Gimli
Washing.
Legolas's heart sized and tightened. Seized. I went straight to the Grinch. Grew 3 sizes that day.
Sized.
Legolas's heart seized and tightened. The Limelight was in the very north of the forest, and once across it, they would emerge from their easy wandering, crackling out of the chrysalis to the pain of the open air. No more Fangorn, no more careless peace, no more Gimli at dawn stretching his muscles limber and grumbling about the wear of his boot sole. He would complain about his shoes wearing down. And all the future losses lined themselves up. First they would reach Mirkwood, and Legolas would return to his hall and report to his lord. Gimli would depart from the lonely mountain to do the same. The cogs and wheels of kingdoms would groan and grind like one of Saruman's devices, devouring them in their time together. And by the time Legolas looked around again, the leaves would have fallen some few hundreds of times. And Gimli would be lying under a stone somewhere with nothing but the sharp dwarven runes of his public name to keep him company.
Is he dead?
That's what Legolas is dreading, is that he will die one day.
Okay, I'm like, I thought
But like,
been dead. Okay.
Real story, like canon-wise, they both get on the boat. Like, Gandalf and Frodo, right?
Yeah.
Well, Gimli goes with them, and he's the only dwarf who's ever gone, right? Okay.
Yeah, Legolas takes
This
him.
is making me sad.
And then they get there and everyone's like, can a dwarf be here? And they're like, I don't know.
Guess we'll find out. Legolas felt as grasping and greedy and frightened as a child. He could not savor thoughts of the sweet promise of the Limlight's water, its kiss on his skin or its sparkle in his eye, its new music joining the grand song of the waters he'd ever met. Instead, he regarded it only as a border, a sheer cliff's edge with nothing past it but a terrible fall. We're extra sad now.
I'm traumatized.
For real. No, Gimli said. Well, perhaps the master of the wood will not allow it, but I wish for it still. What is he talking about? He sat up and yawned, warm and solid in the forest's hush. Or is it like the draughts Merry and Pippin drank from the Entwash, and will shoot up like saplings? At first, Legolas could only blink at him lost in foreboding. Then he said, smiling as best he could, I think the Ent drops must be brewed on purpose, and I would hate to see you outgrow all your fine armor just as punishment for a swim. Swim? Gimli scoffed. No thank you, a wash will do.
No swim.
If the herdsmen consent. But swim, nah, fuck that shit, I'm just gonna wash you. Sponge bath. That familiar tone soothed the clench of Legolas's chest somehow, smoothing his hackles.
His hackles?
This is well written. It's hard. His smile felt lighter and more genuine, and he answered, scolding, not still resisting the lure of the water, and you, a veteran of elven boats of Lothlorien. Gimli's eyes softened as always at the memory and the name, but he said only, an oarsman is not the same as an otter, he sniffed. Present company accepted, I suppose. Without the mall shirt and those boots of yours. Without the male shirt.
Like the mall shirt, they got malls.
I'm blind. Without the male shirt and those boots of yours, I'm sure you'd be as much an otter as anyone. He watched Gimli rise to his feet, and suddenly it felt like something more than their ordinary gesture.
Rise to his feet.
Just a little comparison. Come, Gimli, let me teach you were the first words that came, but he quashed them, knowing dwarven pride. Swim with you. Gimli looked at him as if he heard the thought, and Legolas held his breath. Away with you, Gimli said at last. And though he waved it off as a nonsense, nevertheless he smiled. I want to do that. My lip lane's bugging me. Away with you! That was how it went for the most of the early morning, as Gimli dressed himself and braided himself and knelt to obliterate all trace of the little cooking fire Fangorn permitted them. He had opinions on deep water, namely that it was a place for fish and ducks and grasping weeds.
The
and
ducks in deep water, they need to breathe air.
And the sort of silty mud that stank like a midden. He eventually granted that it might even be fit for the other free peoples to splash about in. But was it his fault that dwarves knew better? Gimli. But once they had shouldered their packs and left the clearing behind, Legolas heard him mutter, at least it's fine weather for it. It looks like you did in the corner of my eye. Okay, we reached the line. Do we want to read more?
No, that was long enough.
So they're gonna go bathe together, swim together?
Not swim. Gimli won't swim.
Oh, wait. They discovered that dwarves not only could swim, but swim underwater. He went swimming. Gimli went swimming. They could even float, in a way. Although Gimli never seemed to find it restful, his legs wanted to sink, so he spent his floating time with arched back and wide eyes, trying in big breaths to make his chest keep him on the surface. Sometimes he let his guard down and went abruptly underwater with an indigent splash. Sometimes Legolas reminded him with a fleeting hand in the small of his bare back.
Oh.
There we go. There was some spiciness. I looked down and read, so they discovered that dwarves not only could swim. I was like, they went swimming! Alright, this one's really short. As short as Gimli.
What?
The first line. He's so short, one of the elves snickered. And hairy, the other agreed. His nose is so big, ew. I can't even see the rest of his face through the beard and helmet. Why is he here, anyway? It, came a voice from behind, has a name. The two elves spun around and faced their prince. And its name is Gimli, and he is here as my friend and guest. The two elves gulped. We beg your pardon, your highness, the first elf pleaded. Legolas pulled his bow from his back. The eyes of the two elves went wide. You have 10 seconds to run. And they ran. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.
Did you like more? I like the second one because it just he said friend.
That was funny.
It was good. It was funny. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed.
The first one painted a picture. But the second one, it did paint a picture in my head because I imagined them in the place that they went to together. They got there and all the other elves were
Yeah.
I imagined that.
If you enjoyed this video. And subscribe. And subscribe to our individual channels. They will be linked down below. Real Weird Journey.
Epic Fashion.
Peace, love, and happiness.
Remember to follow your dreams.
And we'll see you guys next week. Bye!
Throw me. Like Legolas and Gimli.
Aragorn,
sorry. Don't tell
Nobody tosses a dwarf!